Mr. Bachchan, thank you for meeting me on Frankly Speaking once again.
Thank you, Amitabh, and wonderful to be speaking with you all over again. It's always a joy and a pleasure. We see you every night, so I'm just paying you these wonderful compliments so that you can be kind and soft with me during the course of this interview.
I'm always kind and soft. When have I not been kind and soft?
No, always, yes, sure.
As long as you're not in politics, I'll be kind and soft. You're not intending to go back, are you?
No, never, never.
Never?
No, never.
Okay, so Mr. Bachchan, the last time we spoke on a Frankly Speaking interview, and I enjoy speaking to you every time, because I say I'm your absolute admirer.
Well, there are two of us
decades.
here then. I
Decades.
admire you, and the compliment is accepted well and given back to you.
Thank you. That means a lot. But we've had freewheeling conversations in the past. So I was over a range of issues. But I'd like this conversation to be a little different. Okay. In our previous conversations, we've always spoken about your career in cinema and your acting, of which I'm a huge and total fan. Today, I'd like to draw you out a little bit on a range of other issues.
Okay.
With your permission. But I first want to know that you'll be frank about it, that you won't be defensive.
Yeah, within my own capacity and whatever answers that I have.
Yeah, but you won't be diplomatic.
No, I'm far from being a diplomat. I'm never diplomatic.
You're very.
And that is the most diplomatic question that I get at this point.
Okay, so let's talk about the film fraternity, Mr. Bachchan.
Yeah.
Right? So there is an increasing perception, and I found that perception growing within me as well when I saw recent events, that the whole Hindi film fraternity, Mr. Bachchan, is operating like a clique. In the sense that it goes out of its way to protect its own, even if the person is found guilty, even if it's an issue on which a lot of people are hurt. It's just one big self-serving group. If you're held guilty by a court of law in a hit-and-run case, despite that, the response of the film fraternity is just, we for ourselves. Why is this the case, Mr. Bachchan? I'm talking about the Salman Khan case.
I would not entirely agree with you, Arnab. I feel that this would be true for any fraternity. So because you're in front of me, I'd say it would be true for the journalistic fraternity.
I don't think so.
No, it is.
No, it isn't.
If there is a reportage to be done by, say, one print newspaper about another newspaper, they will not pointedly criticize it or even mention the name of that paper. I think these are norms. You have a code of conduct, and maybe that is something that you want to adhere to, and which is admirable, and we respect that. So I think the film fraternity also, because it is a very combined group of people, we interact with each other, we live with each other, we work together, and I think it becomes very natural that, yes.
I disagree. I disagree with you on that. I'd like to push you more on this, because you remember the Tarun Tejpal case when that whole matter had come up, and I think everybody named the Helka and they went after the misdeeds, alleged misdeeds of a person called Tarun Tejpal. Similarly, in the Neera Radia case, when that case came up as well, the media did introspect and criticize. On the other hand, in this time, the sympathies should have been with the victims of this particular incident. Nurullah Mehboob Sharif, Kaleem Mohammad Pathan, Munna Malai Khan, etc. The entire Hindi film fraternity was united in support of the man convicted in the case, which is Salman Khan. I found that very strange.
Yeah, I think that sometimes what happens is that you're restricted because the procedure is legal and you don't want to say anything which could either disrupt the case. If you will pointedly go out and ask opinion of somebody, then yes, of course. It's like family.
No, but what's family?
If a family member of yours were to be in a similar situation, would you deliberately go out and chuck the person out of the house or
would you be blind to what a person is?
No, I'm not saying
do you believe that the outpouring of sympathy, and I saw a tremendous outpouring of sympathy in this case, do you believe the outpouring of sympathy was justified?
I can't say that.
Why wouldn't you?
Because I would say that everyone that came out and expressed themselves in whatever issue there is, they always show their personal interest in the individual or the person involved or the incident involved. And they also give a point of view which is general, which is legal. And they never go beyond that.
But not one word for the victim.
No, I think that there were many expressions.
No, there were no. I've got the whole list with me. Arjun Kapoor, Diya Mirza, Subhash Ghai, Karan Johar, Sonakshi Sinha, Preeti Zinta, everybody was just talking about Salman Khan, not one word for the people who were affected by this. Isn't that a bit selfish?
I don't think it's selfish. I think that's being a little too harsh.
This
But yes, we realize, of course, we understand that there has been a terrible accident, a terrible incident. People have lost lives, and they're aware of it.
But it's not an isolated incident. You know, we saw the film fraternity again coming together to defend Sanjay Dutt after he was convicted. 1993 illegal arms case.
Yeah.
So again, there was a whole outpouring of sympathy
Yeah.
for Sanjay Dutt.
I'll tell you what
Do you believe
happens.
that was misplaced?
Yeah. I'll tell you what happens. We are perhaps more in contact with the people that are involved, and there is bound to be a certain amount of personal camaraderie, personal friendship, a sharing of time and habits, personalities, and therefore it's difficult for somebody outside the fraternity to understand that. And when something like this does come up, then immediately our thought goes to the fact that no, he can't be like this because we know how he is. For the outsider, because the facts are narrated in a more legal, in a more precise manner, they look a lot more acute, if I may put it that way. And therefore it is very difficult to have any kind of a alignment to, you know, the negativity with the positivity.
Well, Mr.
We are perhaps, yes, a little more cautious and liberal about expressing things who are like members of our family. And at the same time,
What about taking a little bit of greater responsibility, increased responsibility on the part of public figures, especially in matters of law and order, responsibility
most
to
certainly,
society?
I think
Where is that?
We have never ever gone against the law of the country. And whenever we have,
Salman Khan
we
had,
have faced the consequences.
Sanjay Dutt had.
Yeah, but the law has taken its course. Sanjay Dutt is in jail today. Salman Khan has already been to a jail once, and his cases are still pending. I mean, it's not as though it's all over yet. So I think we should wait for it.
But no, that's all right. Let's discuss the issue, Mr. Bachchan. You know, I find that the so-called sympathy in both these cases, Sanjay Dutt and Salman Khan, emanated from the fact that all these people are saying, oh, they're very kind people, or they're very nice people otherwise. What does that have to do with their culpability in a crime?
But
why does the Hindi film industry have blinkers on almost?
No, they're not blinkers.
You don't
What is
think so?
wrong in saying something good about a good quality in a person?
What's that got to do with the crime?
No, it's got nothing to do with the crime.
Then why is there a focus on that?
Well, why not?
No word for the victim.
I like somebody's face. I like him on the screen. I like what he's doing as far as his charity is concerned. I'm just talking about it.
So he can,
I'm not saying,
so he can kill a
please
person.
look at it compassionately
He can
because
kill a person on the road and nobody
fair enough.
talks about the victim.
There's the law of the land, which will take care of it.
No, Mr. Bachchan, there certainly wasn't, you know, you are telling me this case, and in the case of Salman and Sanjay Dutt, there was another actor who was defending herself against allegations of prostitution after being sent to a rescue home in Hyderabad following her detention. This was also somebody who had been a child actor, and she was facing allegations of prostitution, which eventually were proven not to be true. She was not a big star.
Okay.
She wasn't a well-known name. She wasn't an A-lister, right? Nobody.
I don't know of this case,
My point is nobody came out in her support, like they came out in the support of Sanjay Dutt and Salman
Yeah,
Khan.
maybe they're not as well known here in our part of the world, in the Hindi belt. That's why, perhaps.
I think it's got to do with business. I think it's got to do with own individual interest.
I don't think so. If we came to know of any matter, and the other point, Arnab, is this.
Yes.
Please do not load every film personality or film celebrity with all the woes of the country and the world. We are not.
Am I doing that?
We are not that accomplished to be able to answer or bear the burden of that. I think that we are all very concerned with our own fraternity, with our own work. Yes, and just because there is a celebrity status to it, it doesn't mean that we are knowledgeable enough to be able to answer correctly or to behave expectedly in matters that you are
But I
referring
actually
to.
think, Mr. Bachchan, that now that whole argument that someone's being targeted because they're a celebrity does not work, because what we saw here, and my point to you is, we saw closing in of ranks within a fraternity. We saw an industry that was unwilling to look at the fact that there were two sets of application of the law, one in the case of a film star and one in the case of an ordinary citizen of India. Somebody was getting fast forward justice and other people wait in the courts for a very long time.
Yeah.
My question is different to you, Mr. Bachchan. You are an industry that genuinely does reach out on a daily basis. You're in touch with the masses, as it were. How does it happen that in cases like this, the same industry loses touch with the public pulse, the popular pulse, and literally, as it were, goes into a bubble of its own making?
It would be wrong to acknowledge that, Arnab. I think that our entire existence is based on our content, which is picked up from the public. We make subjects which perhaps a lot of people are unaware of. No one ever talks anything about that. Look at the amount of subjects that we play on. And those subjects come up from people like you when you bring it up.
Which is why I find the disconnect even more unbelievable in
No,
cases
it's not
like
the
this.
disconnect. It's just that our profession is such that we are in an artistic frame of mind. We create, we got topics, we see incidents, we see what's happening, and stories come out of that. We make films out of that, yes. And yes, we are concerned about it. There are many of us who take up causes which are beyond just the fact that we are film actors. And many of us do that very admirably. So I think that to generalize that would
I'd say on that point, Mr. Bachchan, to some extent I disagree with you, because I feel that the film fraternity, I saw them huddling around two superstars who ought to have taken responsibility for their actions. And sometimes you need to be judged by your own even more objectively than you are judged by others. That did not happen in the Salman Khan case.
There are two separate things.
Why isn't Amitabh Bachchan taking a clear position on this?
There are two separate things here. Are you objecting to the fact that I want to go and embrace Sanjay Dutt or a Salman Khan?
No, I'm not doing that.
No, but that's what you're saying.
No, that's not what I said.
You're saying,
I'm not
you're
saying.
hugging him.
No, I'm not against.
So, yes, I will show some affection because he's a member of the fraternity, he's a member of the family. At the same time, I will not cross the line where the law is concerned. If the law is what it is, and if he's going to be tried and sent to jail or whatever pending the accusations, then we will respect that.
No, Mr. Bachchan, you got me slightly wrong. I think we have a slight disagreement on this, but I'll move on. My point was not that you will hug him. My point was over whether you will also look at the other side, and what I feel, not you as in the industry, simply is very myopic when it comes to the people they reach out to through their movies. They don't speak about the victims of these incidents. They don't speak about, they are completely, into their own world, and that's what came across.
Just
not one word, one word for the victims,
Okay.
Mr.
Just
Bachchan.
because you do not hear of those efforts doesn't mean that they do not happen. There are many occasions when the film industry has gone out and helped people who have been in distress, and those matters are never brought up.
No, Mr. Bachchan, in August 2011, when your movie Arakshan was at the receiving end of protests, there was some political angle to it also. In fact, I remember that you had directly questioned why the same film fraternity does not have a body to stand up and speak up against those who stifle creativity. That was your basic argument at the point of Arakshan. So very often, Mr. Bachchan, those who seek to do this are somehow affiliated or have linkages to the political establishment. So do you sense a reluctance from the film fraternity to stand up united on that front? And my question is very simple. The same film fraternity which goes around and says Salman Khan is a very nice guy, never takes up an issue which they feel may fall foul of the political establishment. That I find is slightly a case of double standards. Don't you agree?
You have taken up one incident.
Yeah.
But has there ever been any effort from the media to find out some of the other work that the film fraternity does?
You're throwing it back. But is there a...
I wish to do that because otherwise, I'm going to look like, I'm sitting in a jail. Let us take the issue of farmer suicides. It's a huge political issue. But out of deep immodesty, may I just inform you that I was shooting for a film in Visakhapatnam many years ago. I landed at the airport and I read the newspaper and I found that a huge number of farmers were committing suicide for amounts as small as 10,000, 5,000, 20,000 rupees. I came back, I got a list of those farmers, and I took care of 50 families from committing suicide. That was never mentioned because I have not spoken about it. In Vidarbha, some few years later, again there was this farmer suicide, and on my own initiative, I found out, and again I saved about 50, 60 families from losing their earning member. I went to the banks, I found out how much money was owed to them. I paid back the bank so that there was no kind of corruption taking place. Now, I feel awkward talking about this, but because you are wanting me to comment on other cases,
No.
therefore I'm saying this. But there are many of us who continue to do work like this, independently, quietly, because we just don't want to talk about that.
And let me say this, Mr. Bachchan, I genuinely appreciate what you've done. And more than that, what I appreciate is the fact that you've done all of this without seeking publicity for it.
Sure.
Which is admirable, because many people don't do work anonymously. But that was. But if you allow me,
I'm being forced to say this now because
that's all right. That's all right.
You know, there's an accusation that we are well not concerned with the rest of the ailments that go.
No, that was not my point. And please don't take it as an accusation, Mr. Bachchan. You know I have deep personal regards for you. My point was more about the fact that the film industry plays safe. The film industry is reluctant to take on the political establishment. Let me quote you. Let me quote you in 2011. Now this is Mr. Bachchan. I love doing this.
Yeah.
Amitabh Bachchan to Amitabh Bachchan. Why does not the film fraternity of India, and more so of Mumbai, have a force or body that stands up and protects its own under attack on occasion from groups that take objection to the very spirit of the freedom of expression inscribed so prominently and decisively in our constitution? Why, whenever we are at the stage of bringing our heads above the cacophony of the world with its myriad issues to perhaps simply breathe, do forces that seek resentment attempt to strangulate us? Now, Mr. Bachchan,
when did I say this?
This was in August 2011 when Arakshan was at the receiving end of political protest. Yeah. So you acknowledge there that somewhere the political...
Correct. This is not a personal statement. This is a statement that is in the context of the film Arakshan.
But it's a point that you made.
Yeah, it's a point made in the film.
The point that you make here, the point I read from it, and tell me if I'm wrong, is that the film fraternity wants to be on the right side of the politicians.
Yeah,
why? I don't understand this.
Yeah, I think that there may be some truth in that. I think that we are more concerned with our own creative work. We're more concerned about how we're going to face the camera.
That's an excuse, sir.
No, it's not an excuse. It's our profession. We don't want to upset the powers that be because we are vulnerable. We don't have a force.
Vulnerable to what?
To any kind of powerful act that can come against us, and we don't want to be in that situation.
Bollywood is vulnerable. Amitabh Bachchan, for example.
Yes.
No, 1 second. Just hold me. Mr. Bachchan, I will take that from anyone, but I will not take that from Amitabh Bachchan because...
Please,
1 second.
Please defend that statement.
So I'll defend that statement, Mr. Bachchan.
Tell me
because
why.
Anyone who has followed your career knows that when you were injured on the sets of a film, perhaps in the history of independent India, there have been a few occasions when the entire country has prayed for one individual.
Yeah.
That has been your support base in the 80s, and that is your... 1 second, sir. That is your support base now. I don't think anyone watching this, frankly speaking, interview will say, we are vulnerable. I think the Hindi film industry has more power than it has. It just chooses to be scared of politicians. Now, you can defend, sir, why you feel the Hindi film industry is scared of politicians.
I think
why are they
it's
scared?
not our profession. There have been many artists and they are very brave and I admire them because they have broken the shackles and gone ahead, taken up politics and succeeded. Whether it is Shatrughan Sinha, Vinod Khanna, look at the South, MGR, NTR, Jayalalitha ji, in Gujarat, in Punjab, all over they have broken these shackles and gone out. There are some of us, me particular, I was not comfortable because I don't know the job. And yes, I am vulnerable. I am still today. I'm afraid of doing anything wrong for fear that the powers that be can make my life miserable.
What do you mean? Explain that. Who's going to... No, 1 second.
No. This is your perception.
Amitabh Bachchan says...
No, this is your perception.
Are you worried that if you say something, if you speak up or you say something that offends the powers that be, that they will go after you?
I speak from a lot of personal experience, so that's why I defend myself.
When have they gone after you?
Well, let's not forget the entire Bofors scandal, for example. And the pain of that and the misery that we went through has taught me a lesson for life. And I will teach it to every generation of mine.
Which is what?
Which is that please do not take on the establishment.
Play safe.
Yeah. During the time that the accusations were coming, there used to be headlines every day. It's a nightmare situation. I mean, it's very difficult for someone like you to understand what we as artists go to. We are sensitive, at least I am, and we are all very sensitive people. We want to see our films, we want to see how we perform, we want to go and create content. We don't want to see negativity coming out on headlines. Titles like "you're a traitor," "you're a this," "you have done this wrong," "you should be arrested," "you should be shot," "you should be killed." These are disturbing elements to us. This disturbs our creative mind. Now, every morning I'm going to be reading this. I'm a disturbed individual. I cannot go in front of the camera and perform. It's a huge mind change for us. So every day when these accusations used to come, there was one gentleman who, in the letters to the editor, was accusing me every day with a certain set of questions. Answer this, answer this, answer this, why this, why that. And I really didn't know what to do. So one fine morning, I checked the name of the person. I talked to the editor of the paper. I found his address. He lived in Kemp's Corner. I picked up my car. I drove myself to Kemp's Corner. I walked up to his house. I knocked on his door. He opened the door and I said, "Are you so-and-so?" He said, "Yes, how have you come here?" I said, "Do you write all these questions to me?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Can you come inside? Because I have come here to answer every question of yours." He said, "No, sir, it's all right. I write these letters." I said, "No, I want to start." I sat for 3 hours. I answered each and every question of his. And I said, "I hope that you're satisfied now." He said, "Yes, I'm very sorry to have asked you this. And can you meet my wife and this and that?" I met his wife. It became a very social evening. And I went away. After that, we went to England and we fought the case in the London courts of law. We won. I came back. And when I came back, the first message that I had from this gentleman, he rang me up and said, "Mr. Bachchan, you have won the case. Please lie low. Don't ever beat your drums about this victory because you don't know what the establishment is." I have kept quiet, Arnab. I have never spoken a word. 25 years later, the prosecutor, the main prosecutor in Sweden, announces publicly that our names were planted in this scandal. And the entire media came and sat here in this very office and said, "So what do you have to say to it?" I said, "Nothing." What am I going to say? What do you want me to say? The matter is over, it's finished. But I do know that if I were to say even one thing, who are these people? Find out, I want to know. It's just raking up something that I'm really not interested in. I'm only interested in my work. I'm not interested in taking on a politician. I'm not interested in taking on a government. I'm not interested in taking up any kind of institution that may have wronged somewhere and which is disturbing my life. I just want to be in front of the camera, plain and calm. That is me. There may be others that are different from me. Maybe others that have not gone through what I have gone through. But I know what I have been through. And I would want to protect my family from doing anything that would be even close to you.
Now, Mr. Bachchan, I would have thought that having been through that, which you have in your previous interviews described as a personal hell that you went through, that instead of being wounded in the way that you sound, you would feel vindicated. And Mr. Bachchan, if you're telling me that as a result of being wounded in that episode and what that particular moment that you described to me of going to this gentleman, driving down and talking to him for 3 hours appears to me, from your perspective, if I were to read it, a moment of catharsis for you, where you needed to take it out from your heart and explain to that individual. But my question to you, sir, you have no guilt. And if you've been vindicated and if you feel that you've been on the right side, why do you want to be on the defensive? And
I'm not being defensive. Let me just further explain what I have. It's not just the fact that you read the newspaper headlines that are accusing you. It also reflects in your work. I was shooting for some very prominent films. I don't want to take their names, and neither do I want to take the names of the people that were involved. But every time I went out to work, there was opposition to my working in those films. They said they would stop the work. Every time I would go out on the streets, they would call me a traitor. They would abuse me. When I was shooting on the streets, they would all come and abuse me while I'm there publicly. These are not pleasant things for an actor. An actor, as you rightly said,
why are you seeking approval?
I'm not seeking approval, but you don't want to see. You just said that the whole country prayed for you, but the very people who prayed for you are now abusing you. So you know that there's something wrong. And if there's something wrong,
people can be fickle, audiences can be fickle.
Sure.
But I don't want to take the example of this. You don't like comparisons with the West, I know that. But I must use the American film industry right now, Mr. Bachchan, as a reference point here. And I'm not just talking of the likes of George Clooney or Chopin, who've taken up several humanitarian issues. I personally think you're bigger than any George Clooney or Chopin, simply in the amount that you're revered, liked, appreciated and loved in this country. Now, they have spoken in their own countries, their own societies on a range of issues. Treatment of immigrants, for example. And they've taken on the establishment. They've spoken against the tide. Mr. Bachchan, state of affairs, shootings in Ferguson, racial inequality, discrimination. I've just been following a few of those, all pertinent issues in present day America that those actors speak about. I feel, Mr. Bachchan, that while you are giving me a personal reason for playing safe, and I must appreciate the fact that you're being at least honest with me, you're not pretending, you're saying that you're playing safe. I feel that you're not using your tremendous ability to be a pressure point. You're a thinking person, a possible pressure point, not for the political, but the larger establishment.
May I just interrupt here and say, when you compare us with another film industry or another nation, our circumstances are different and you have to bear that in mind.
We are a democracy, they are.
I agree. But they are a lot more evolved society. They are not as diverse as we are. And they have a very strong sense of expressing, which is taken in the spirit that they have evolved over years. They have, the Hollywood film industry has very strong representations in their parliament or in their democratic, in their Senate, and which has the power to change the political system if it were to come to that. I doubt if this is known by everybody, but there are very strong lobbies from all quarters within the Senate that dictate terms, whether it be on firearms, whether it be on tobacco, whether it be on armaments. They all have very strong lobbies. We don't have that here. We have artists that represent certain parties, and when they go there, the film industry expects that they speak something about the industry, but that is not the reason why they are there. They represent.
Now let me contrast that with an incident here in India. Then let's talk about India. At a time when the Hindi film industry should have taken a position against the riots in Muzaffarnagar and Uttar Pradesh, when families were suffered, which were displaced, which were still recovering, and there was a cold, that children were dying, Mr. Bachchan, and there was nothing being done there in Uttar Pradesh, and there were reports of relief camps and people dying and children dying. We saw a whole host of actors from the film fraternity perform in an extravagant, what I would say over-the-top birthday celebration of Mulayam Singh Yadav in Sci-Fi just a few months later. How can this film industry live in such a
cocoon?
I'll be harsher.
Okay.
In a selfish bubble.
All right.
How can the film industry live in such a selfish bubble?
You know, you'll have to credit us with a few things. That we are not that political in our nature. We do not want to be associated with anything that could become controversial.
So nobody is non-political. People choose not to speak on it.
Okay, fair enough. We chose not to speak on it. If you were to ask me what party are you supporting, I would tell you the same thing. But the point is that we want to keep away from controversy. At least I do. And if you're talking to me in this interview, then I'll give you my opinion.
How can you?
I cannot generalize the entire film industry because I'm not the film industry.
You have views on it.
I am what?
You will have views on this.
I'll have my personal views.
But you will not express them publicly.
No, I'm telling you.
So, for example, there is a whole issue on the beef ban in Maharashtra. What is your view on that?
I'm a vegetarian, so I won't be able to comment.
Don't avoid it.
Sorry?
Don't avoid it.
No, seriously. I really don't know what the issue is.
The issue is that people are being told they can't eat beef, they can't consume beef, they can't bring beef.
Is there a law? Is there a law that has been passed?
Yes, there is a law which has been passed on that.
Really?
Subject. Yes, there has been. What is your view on it?
I'd like to see it. I'd like to see this law.
Do people
because if there is a law on it, then we'll have to respect that law. There will be lobbies, there will be oppositions, there will be all kinds of things. But let the law be raised. We'll follow the law.
Why be so unsure about things that you're sure about, Mr. Bachchan? Why not? Isn't it a very, let me put it this way, Mr. Bachchan, isn't it terrible to be such public personalities and to be hemmed in with your own thoughts,
No,
to
I'm
be
not.
cocooned? I thought the Hindi film industry is reflecting more of reality in the movies,
Yeah.
but outside of the movies is becoming more and more careful. I'll tell you about this, Mr. Bachchan. Even today we've seen theatres vandalized because fringe groups object to the contents of a certain film.
Yeah.
I mean, when PK was released, the Bajrang Dal was vandalizing theatres out
Sure.
there. I would have expected that at that point of time, if the same film industry,
Yeah.
Mr. Bachchan, comes together for Salman Khan, why does the same film industry not speak a word when theatres are vandalized when PK
Yeah,
is
because
released?
I personally feel
Please,
that
explain this, sir.
Yeah, I personally feel that people don't want to get into this kind of controversy because eventually your end product is going to get hurt. Today it's a theatre, tomorrow it could be a film. There have been many occasions when my films have been vandalized, but I've just taken it as part of life. What can you do? We don't have a political force. We don't have any support from the political party. We just sit back and nothing can be done. There have been many occasions. Even during the time of Bofors, there were protests outside my theatres. People were stopped from going in. All my banners used to get black paint on it. Recently, there were some years back, there was another film of mine that was released on a completely diverse issue. They were all painted black. People were stopped from going. Your own offices have been vandalized. The media offices have been vandalized. Every time something controversial comes
That
up.
doesn't stop us from reporting.
Absolutely, because you're the medium. You have the medium to do it.
So
We
you're
don't-
the
We don't
cinema.
have that. I don't have
Well,
that.
I don't.
have that strength.
I don't.
Your own offices, whether it is TV stations, media homes, they've been attacked, and you have the power to be able to take them on, because the media is extremely powerful. And today, if you sit here and talk to me, I sit in a weaker position in front of you, because I do not know, Arnab, how my words are going to be interpreted by you, and in what manner they're going to be projected.
You undermine-
And we are always
Yeah,
going to
no.
be, at least I am always going to be, in that fear. Because of what? I'll tell you. Because of certain past incidents that may have happened.
I'll come to those. I'll come to those.
And those incidents,
But Mr.
because of
why?
Because of the kind of reportage and the kind of profile that was made, were harmful.
Mr. Bachchan, speaking of the political establishment, and I'm glad that you're being frank, and I hope that you'll be franker as we proceed now, Mr. Bachchan. You've kept your distance from politics for a while now, but you've been associated with politics and politicians. You've been close to the Samajwadi Party. You were once part of the Congress Party, and in recent years you've been close to Narendra Modi and the BJP since you became brand ambassador of Gujarat. So you have the proximity, Mr. Bachchan, don't you?
See, I'll tell you, I'll look at it.
How does that work?
I'll tell you how it works. I'll look at it differently. Nobody asked me which party I supported in 1969 when I was working in my first film. Over the years, with a certain amount of success in the films, you get a recognition in the public. When you get recognition in the public, you automatically get recognition with a lot of people who are powerful, who are political, who run institutions, who run corporates. They love you for your work, and you are, in a sense, happy that they do. And therefore, when they want to meet you, or they want to sit with you, or they want to invite you over, you readily do that. That doesn't necessarily mean that we are aligning ourselves with their politics, with their style of functioning a corporate house, or with the style of running the institution. But it is imagined that we do. I will not stop myself from saying that, yes, I used to meet Balasaheb, who was very friendly with me. He was an admirer of my work. He used to draw wonderful cartoons. He was so helpful to me during my illness. His was the ambulance that actually picked me up from the airport and took me to Breach Candy Hospital when I came from Bangalore. He kept reassuring me that I would survive by visiting me in hospital. That immediately kind of translates in the mind of the onlooker or the media that I am now a Shiv Senaite. But no, I am a friend of Balasaheb Thackeray. Because Mr. Narendra Modi has asked me to do promotion for Gujarat, and because I feel that if my face and my voice can provide the kind of tourism that is so deserving of the state or so deserving of the country, I will go ahead and do it. But that does not mean that I am in aligning myself politically with that one. Yes, I did fight for the Congress and I did become a member of parliament. I will admit that yes, our family have been family friends with the Nehrus and the Gandhis, and I will respect that friendship because I respect the association my parents had.
Yeah.
And I will always respect that. But I realized soon after joining politics that I was not qualified for it.
The last time we
and
spoke
therefore
on,
I went away.
last time we spoke on Frankly Speaking, you spoke at length about your closeness to Rajiv Gandhi.
Yes.
A matter that you've been reticent about for a long time has been your falling out with the Gandhis. Tell me about your falling out with the Gandhis, Mr. Bachchan.
I have always believed in life, Arnab, that once a friend, always a friend for me.
I sense a reticence there.
No, there's no reticence.
And if there is a reticence, there is a reason, isn't there?
No, there is no reason.
You said in an interview on January 21st, 2015, when you were asked a question about the fallout with the Gandhis, and Mr. Bachchan, please credit me, I follow every word that you say very closely.
Sure, sure.
I followed not just your film.
You wouldn't be Arnab Goswami if you didn't do that.
You said on January 21st, and you said, I quote, "This is something I need to contain within me
Yeah.
and not make it public. For you, it may be a story. It may be a story. For me, it's a closed chapter." Let me ask you straight, Mr. Bachchan, and on this, you should not hold back today because you promised me that you would be frank today. Was the fallout a result of Bofors, or was it the result of something else? And is there a possibility of this closed chapter being reopened? Actually, you may choose not to answer the second question. I'll let you off on that. But the first question you must. Was your fallout with the Gandhis a result of Bofors or something else?
Yes, sir. Extremely frank.
Yes, sir.
I'll be very frank and tell you that I shall live by the statement that you just read out. There's nothing else to say. Some things need to be contained, Arnab. I am at liberty to tell you that, yes, we are friends, and once I make a friend, they always remain with me. That's how I see it.
You and Amar Singh go back a long way as well.
Absolutely. I will always respect my friendship with him.
Amar Singh has been very outspoken about his falling out with you.
That is his opinion. I will not want to contest that. For me, he has been a friend, and I will always respect him as a friend.
Most recently,
I still have contact with him. I wish him on his birthdays, on his children's birthdays and events of their anniversary, and I speak to him on and off on occasion.
Most recently, he said about you, he said, "I regret the way they treated me opportunistically, but I maintain that a good human being can be a bad actor, and a good actor may not necessarily be a good human being." Yeah. A very bitter comment, and it doesn't stop there, Mr. Bachchan. Why have you been quiet all this while?
Because I feel that is his prerogative, whatever he wishes to say about me. I do not wish to comment on that. I wish to say that he has been my friend, and he will always remain a friend for me.
He said, "Mr. Bachchan, according to me, is contrary to Bagban, the role he played on screen. Off screen, he's Bagh Ujar, which means uprooting a garden, at least emotionally." I'm saying this on record. Why is he talking like this?
He has the freedom to say what he wants.
Two big falling outs.
That's all right.
You're silent on both.
No, I'm not saying it's a fallout at all, as far as I'm concerned.
Why are you not being frank on these two issues, Mr. Bachchan?
Extremely frank. I'm telling you frankly.
When I interviewed you on Frankly Speaking the last time, Mr. Bachchan, you said and what you're saying now, that you're still friends. Would you hold the view that in light of some of these very bitter comments that he's now made against you, does it hurt you when he said in 2012, and at least explain that? He said, "When I was jailed, Amitabh Bachchan did not even bother calling him up." Can you please tell me, Mr. Bachchan, did you drop Amar Singh at that point of time like a hot brick?
That's not true. Soon after he was shifted to hospital, I went and visited him there. He was still in prison.
He says you didn't even call him up.
Well, that's his viewpoint.
Very bitter comments.
Yeah, that's all right.
Will you reach out to him?
Most certainly, if he were to walk in now, I would still embrace him. My son still touches his feet whenever we meet him.
So was your falling out with the Gandhis over Bofors?
No.
Then what was it about?
There is no falling out, as far as I'm concerned.
Very diplomatic.
No, it's not.
Very diplomatic.
No, it's not.
The smile is a giveaway.
It's not. No. I'm just smiling just to make better copy for you.
Bachchan, let's stick to politics for a while.
Okay.
Right? From Rajiv Gandhi to Amar Singh, many chapters. Now, Mr. Modi. You've known him from his days in Gujarat. You've praised him for his performance as Chief Minister of Gujarat. You've said on January 7, 2010, quote, I can't compare myself with Modi. Inke bare mein kya bolu? He's doing a good job as Chief Minister of Gujarat. His efforts are commendable. How do you feel about Narendra Modi now as Prime Minister?
Well, he's been chosen through a mandate. The entire country has
So give me a
voted for him. I'm coming to it.
viewer.
I'm coming to
Give me a
it.
viewer.
He is now the Prime Minister of the country.
Yes.
He has taken on the reins of the country to, in his words and in entire campaigning, to improve the worth of the country. And we wait for that. He has 5 years to do that. And after the end of 5 years, he will be judged again. I just feel that let those 5 years elapse and then we'll see.
You've been questioned about your association with Mr. Modi. You're aware of that.
Questioned.
You've been questioned about your association with Narendra Modi.
In what manner?
Politically.
What?
By the Congress Party.
Questioned and what? In what
That
manner?
why are you associating yourself with the Gujarat government and supporting Narendra Modi?
Where am I supporting you? Did I do any rallies for him? Did I make any political comments about him? No. I just went and did tourism for the state of Gujarat.
In March 2010, Congress Party's Manish Tiwari said, and I quote, if you are in public domain and have agreed to endorse something in public, it becomes your duty to air your clear opinion on all other issues associated with it as well.
Yeah. I don't know what he means by it. Maybe you
I'm
can
continuing with the comment.
Yeah.
You cannot sweep under the carpet all the obnoxious records of human rights violation there. The real question is, where does Amitabh Bachchan stand on the issue of the Gujarat riots?
Yeah. Firstly, I've been employed without salary to work for tourism in a state. Okay. When I work for state and country, I don't charge any money. I do that as a national, and I feel that that is something that I should do as a citizen of the country, and that is what I have done. Now, just because I'm associating with you or with XYZ, I can't be made answerable for everything that that person is associated with. There are political issues. Yes, he's a politician, and he will have a history of politics, and whatever the matters that concern him with are there, and that is for the politicians and the law of the land to take care of. I have been assigned a job to do. I will try and do that job to the best of my ability. If that is done, that's it.
No, but do you feel the question he asked you there was an unfair question, where he said that I want to know what is Amitabh
Well, that is
Bachchan's
his
stand
point of
on the
view, and
Gujarat
I will
riots?
not question that.
But what is your stand?
My standing is that I work for state. I
No,
work
this
for the state.
question. That what is Amitabh Bachchan's
I don't
stand
know
on the
really.
Gujarat?
I don't know what he's trying to say. So I won't be able to.
He's trying to draw into a political debate.
No,
You're skirting the
but
political
I
debate
can
once
tell him
again.
with folded hands that I'm not in politics. So I shall not be able to answer your question.
You're dodging every question to do with politics.
Not at all.
It's impossible for you to dodge politics.
Well, how can you say that? I'm not in politics.
You know, you've been tourism ambassador of Gujarat in the past,
Yeah.
and now you are also endorsing the government's recent Kisan TV initiative,
Yes,
if I'm
yes.
not mistaken. So
It's
you've been, no, one second.
And there are many more things.
I've been complete.
Yeah, hang on.
No, hang on.
When you say
hang on
these,
1 minute.
when you say these things, you have to understand the other things as well.
No, I want to.
Why don't you talk about polio?
Why
don't you talk about-
Why don't you talk about politics?
Why don't you talk about TB?
Why don't you talk about
Why don't you
political
talk about
parties and
hepatitis
political
B?
issues?
Or why don't you talk about diabetes?
Why don't you talk about
Or why don't
hard
you talk
issues?
about the fact that farmers' interests are being looked after by me personally?
Why talk about them every
Why don't
day?
you talk about the fact that I have done many national archaeological sites, given the Soin Lumet, the commentary, just to make the country proud. And
I have no doubt about that, but why don't you talk about the fact, Mr. Bachchan, now it's my turn.
Okay.
Why don't you talk about the fact that you have been associated with the Congress Party? in
I
the
don't
80s?
talk about the fact because I'm not on News Hour right now.
But you've been associated with the Congress Party in the 80s. My question,
yes.
you've been associated with the Samajwadi Party on off in the 2000s.
Yeah.
You're probably the only person who has affiliated themselves, or not affiliated themselves, who has dealt with political parties. And this is the nub of the issue, who are completely and totally inimical to each other. Now, I find a slight contradiction there. Mr. Bachchan, and explained this at length today. in the entire first part of the interview, you have spoken about your distaste for politics and you've drawn it to your personal experiences, which I don't dispute. I'm quite sure that you've been through some experiences there. But at the same time, you don't have a distaste to political parties or politicians. So there's a contradiction here. You don't like politics, but you have been associated with political parties in direct and indirect ways. How does
it's
this
inevitable, I said. When you are in the kind of profession we are in, it's inevitable that you will be equated with, drawn with. This happens. We are all individuals. We are all citizens of this country. Somewhere down the line, we will get influenced by it. Whether I wish to talk about it or not, that is my prerogative. I don't talk about it because I feel that is not my domain. I feel that makes me vulnerable. I feel that it makes me open up to controversy, and I don't want that in my life.
Mr. Bachchan, last time we spoke and I asked you if you were comfortable about being in politics, and you said to me that no, I'm not. And your exact quote was, I can never be, which is why I've maintained I'll never ever join politics or would want to do politics again.
Yeah. That is right.
You maintain that now?
Absolutely.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
There's always occasionally a buzz.
Sure. There's always occasionally a buzz that you might join the film industry. Will you?
Will you join politics?
Will you join the film industry? Because I can tell you, I have a job for you right now. And you'll do a terrific job.
If not a purely political role, what about a ceremonial role? Answer the questions, Mr. Bachchan. You'd be a great TV anchor, by the way.
Yeah. In my next...
Would you like to be a TV anchor,
In my next
Mr. Bachchan?
incarnation, I'm going to be a journalist, because I want to be where you are and ask all these difficult and penetrating questions and not be the one pinned down to answer them.
Not pinned down. Okay, let's carry on.
Yeah.
You're enjoying this now, Mr.
Oh yeah,
Bachchan.
absolutely.
Actually, can I say something? You'd be a terrific politician if you chose to be. But you'd also be a terrific
God bless
diplomat.
all those people, but they're not going to get this satisfaction.
If not a purely political role, what about a ceremonial one? You know, if you were offered a ceremonial position that is relatively insulated from the heat and dust of Indian politics, which seems to have singed you, if I may say so, would you be willing to consider that?
Like what?
Governor,
Governor?
president, vice
Not
president?
at all. What are you talking? This is rubbish. I'm not qualified, nowhere near any of these positions.
So, which political parties have made overtures to you?
No one. No one has.
To campaign for them?
Nothing. They know that I'm not in politics, and I don't do any campaigning.
Now, Mr. Bachchan, there's another question I wanted to ask you for a very long time about what you said in 2012.
Are we going to talk something about film as well? Because...
Congratulations on Piku. That's a great film. I'll talk about it later.
Get a close-up of me now and of him while he's at this, before he shifts to this other disastrous topic.
Mr. Bachchan, there are enough channels and anchors who'll talk to you only about films. I love your films.
Thank you.
If I had anything critical
Can
to
we
say
spend
about
some
your
time on Piku, please? Because
I will.
Yeah, okay.
I will. Mr. Bachchan, now this is what is interesting. People will see Piku, they love it, it's done well. Now let's go back to my question.
Okay.
Mr. Bachchan, in 2012, you spoke about the angry young man image that you portrayed in your films in your 70s. You spoke about a sense of angst in the Indian youth due to the emergency, and that was the reason why many people identified with the characters that you portrayed.
Yeah.
Right, at that point of time. And I was thinking about it, Mr.
That's
Bachchan.
an explanation to why did the angry young man become so prominent.
Yeah.
And I told you that I shared this question with Salim Saab and Javed Saab, who wrote the script. And they were of the opinion that society and the country in general had a sense that, maybe there is need for somebody like this, a character like this to come up, because the establishment, they were dissatisfied with the establishment. Soon after Zanjeer, there was the whole emergency and everything. And it was an explanation to that. It's got nothing to do with the personal statement.
No, not at all, not at all. What I meant was, did you believe in the undercurrent of anger that was there in society at that moment? Or were you just playing the role?
Yeah, I play the role. I tend not to bring reality into my roles. A lot of people do that. They actually believe in the kind of roles they're doing. And I know several actors that actually enjoy doing that. And it shows in their performance. And it maybe helps them perform that role. But I like to keep a separation. I just perform the role and that's it. The role remains in the studios afterwards.
But what you said was there were stories which reflected the anger of the youth against the system, which was evident especially during the emergency period. And now I'm going to come to my question. Did you ever convey to the Gandhis who you worked with later your views on the emergency?
No, I never discussed politics with them at that point.
Did you feel angry about the emergency?
No, there were certain...
You were all right with the emergency?
No, I'm saying that it was perhaps a wrong decision.
Perhaps a wrong decision?
Yeah. And that has been accepted by everyone.
No.
Democracy was being curtailed, and the entire film industry itself was suffering. There were limitations to what you could show,
yeah,
what you could print.
Yeah.
You were told that action sequences must not exceed 90 feet. That's like curbing creativity. It's like asking a painter you can only use a black paint or a red paint and no other paints. Or a poet or a literature to write just 2 paragraphs instead of an entire book. Yes, that was constraining.
But you never expressed your views there. I mean, the question is...
I was not in a position to do so. But yes, now that you're asking me, yes, I do agree that the emergency was wrong.
But you never spoke up then?
No. I wasn't in a position to speak up.
You were in a position?
No, nobody would have heard me at that point.
You were a big actor at that time?
No, I'm never a big actor. Okay.
Mr. Bachchan, let's go back to Bofors. You say it singed you. Tell me about that particular period. You've spoken about, wanting to get out of the country at that point of time. You've broken away from that charge. Actually, let's not talk about Bofors. There are charges which follow you all the time. I mean, I was reading this one which tails you is that of the 1984 riots. Will you talk about it?
Yeah,
you've maintained your innocence, denied any involvement. Now some court in America, I'm told, has summoned you in October 2014.
I've yet to receive it. But, this is just malicious lies and just unbelievable lies. I've got nothing to do with it. But just because perhaps I'm just imagining that there is a link with the family that I have, therefore they feel that, I have done this.
Yep.
But there is no proof. I want to see some proofs of what they have accused me of.
You remember 1984, Mr. Bachchan, it was a Congress government in power. That time you were very friendly with the Gandhis.
Yeah.
Right? And 3,000 Sikhs approximately died in 3 days. And Rajiv Gandhi said some riots took place in the country following the murder of Indiraji. We know that people were very angry for a few days. It seemed India had been shaken. But when a mighty tree falls, it is only natural that the earth around it does shake a little. Given your very close association with Rajiv Gandhi, did you ever speak to him about the 1984
No, I never spoke to him, and these are his views, and I obviously cannot comment on them. But whatever happened in '84 was terrible. It should never have happened. And it's disastrous to see something like this anywhere in the world. Something like this to happen. It's very, very wrong. And absolutely I feel very sad about it. But to say that I was responsible for it is just a lot of rubbish. It's malicious lies. It's trying to implicate somebody who's got nothing to do with it. And that's as far as it is. I will fight it in court.
I'm sure you will.
Yeah.
I'm sure you will. Mr. Bachchan, I must thank you for your frankness so far. I actually find one particular undercurrent there that somewhere about 25 to 30 years back you decided to stay out of issues which you felt could be seen to be political. And you've actually said that you've been playing safe.
Yeah, I am.
It's disappointing for a lot of people to hear that.
No, as I said, Arnab, it'll make wonderful copy for you, but it will destroy my life. And at 73, I want to live a peaceful life.
At 73, you're doing a fine job as an actor.
I don't know about that, but yeah, I think I've had my share, and there are many, many other issues that I'm sure will keep coming up. It's part of my destiny. I shall live with it. If it comes, I shall stand up to them. I shall battle them if they are worth battling. But yes, I don't want to put my finger into any controversial pie, because I think I've had enough of it.
I completely appreciate that. Now, I'm not forcing the question on Piku, but I'm actually quite surprised that you managed to get 100 crore success for a film which nobody would have thought would have made any money at all. That also, a character, that's not exactly going down with the stream. Are you feeling kicked about it? The success
I'm delighted with the reaction of the audiences. I'm delighted with the audience. I know that we work very hard on every film, whether it's the writer, the director, the artists involved. We all work to the best of our ability. But eventually it's the audience that decides whether we were good or bad or what. For them to have taken this film to the kind of limits that they have shows that they identified with the film. And what has been really marvelous and beautiful has been not just the appreciation of the story, the content, the film per se, but the fact that every time I have received a complimentary SMS or a message, it has always praised the film and the performance, but also stated by the end that, you know, I saw my nana in it, or I saw my daughter in it, or this is my family. I thought that that was the most endearing compliment that I could have ever received. The kind of connect that they've had with the film. And that is the reason why it has perhaps reached the kind of distance it has. That is more important than saying, you know, your performance was damn good or whatever it is. I think that connect has been more worthy than the compliments for performance.
Yes. Do you see a sort of a coming around, Mr. Bachchan, in the kind of roles that you're playing? You know,
yes.
At the early part of your career, just taking off from what you said, you know, characters who people could identify with, characters who people could be, and then at a certain point in your career, the absolute superstar, you know, you could aspire for but never could be, and now perhaps at this stage of your career, someone you can feel and touch almost.
Absolutely.
You feel that?
When I was younger and when I was getting leading men, then the pattern is almost similar to every film that you do. You're a leading man, you fall in love, there are oppositions, you fight it, win the girl in the end, and ride off into the sunset. But at that point of time, you never had opportunity to play the kind of roles that I'm getting now, because there was the age factor. And also, when you're young, people want to see you young, they don't want to see you old. When you're old, you kind of fit into that bracket. Also the fact, you're not going to be playing those young roles again. You're no longer that heartthrob, that superstar. You have to take that step back. I'm not going to be cheered and applauded the way some of the youngsters are going to be. And that has to be accepted, because this is a fact of the film industry, it's a fact of life. But yes, I do get to play interesting characters, because they're commensurate with my age, and they're different from what I had been doing earlier on. With Piku, I had some very peculiar comments as well. Some of the people who had seen me in my earlier avatar, so to say, said, you know, we were in love with you then, but after Piku, we've fallen in love with you again. I was not able to understand that until another friend of mine and a producer director said, we had always established you of a certain capacity in a particular role, but we don't find Bhaskar Banerjee of Piku to be anywhere near our imagination that we had imagined about you for all these years. It's a complete departure from what we've seen you doing or what we feel that you're capable of doing. And one of them made a huge compliment, and I'm just being immodest again about it. They said, you know, we didn't see you in the film. And I said, what do you mean? I was acting? No, 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 sir, you don't understand. We didn't see you. We didn't see you in the film. And I felt that that was perhaps one of the best compliments.
That's a beautiful thing to say.
And I felt very recently the same thing about Kangana Ranaut in a recent film, Tanu Weds Manu, where she plays the other character.
Yeah.
And I just simply adored what she did, and she's a marvelous performer. And whenever I see the younger generation do something good, I send them some flowers, I write a note to them. I just feel happy about it. So I sent her flowers, I sent her 2 bouquets, because she plays a double role, and I wrote 2 notes to her. One was for Tanu, and I said, this is for the other one, because I don't know who the other one is, so please give her my compliment. So I just feel that, you know, when an actor plays beyond any kind of recognition that is associated with his temperament or his characteristics, that's a huge achievement. So, which is why I appreciated Kangana Ranaut in the film.
Can I ask you a personal question?
Yeah, sure.
What happens to an actor who has reached your level of sublime success after the age of 50? You know, when there is a point to which you can play, as you said, you know, the leading man, the one who does all the stunts, and you stretched your time as a leading man as far as you could, and many also have done. But do you feel angry at the audience? Do you feel a sense of insecurity? Do you feel unsure how to react to the audience? Because now you beautifully evolved, and anyone who meets you says, "Oh, Mr. Bachchan, you know, the way you've reinvented yourself over the years," that's the most common thing said about you. But this must have come over a period of time through learning. What happens in that cusp? When was your cusp?
Yeah.
Can you tell me about it?
See,
From your own
we
experience.
have to understand that nobody is going to be perennial. An actor more especially. There will be periods when you will get huge amount of appreciation. You will be praised, worshipped, and then with age, with the occurrence of the next person who people are admiring, their emergence into the firmament, their attraction to them will overshadow who you are. You will not get the same amount of reaction from the public. Walk in with, say, a Shah Rukh or a Salman or a Amir or a Ranbir or Varun or all these youngsters, Ranveer Singh, and you will find that the cheer will be louder for them than for you. That cheer could have been equivalent to when you were younger, but it's not going to be the same as you. People are not going to be excited as they are towards you. And I think that that is something that you have to contend with. There are many actors of my age and of my time that have contended with this, have resigned and said, we're happy where we are, but we don't want to carry on. I think, Arnab, in my case, my circumstances were different. I was, as you all know, it's an old story, I was bankrupt. I had huge financial losses. Working for me is a necessity. I'm insecure financially, and therefore I need to keep working because there were heavy debts on me. With great difficulty, I was able to pay back each one of them. I'm thankful that I was able to find another medium like television to be able to earn from that and pay back all the creditors. Because the very people that used to virtually touch your feet and embrace you and ask you for your patronage were the very people who came and abused you in your own home. Creditors used to
What do you mean abuse you in your own home?
They used to come to my house and say, you owe us this money, pay up. And they would abuse you, really filthy.
This is after the initial launch of ABC.
That's right, and some of the problems that we had financially. And those are terrible times. So one doesn't want to see those times again, hopefully. So one continues to work. And if I'm going to continue to work because of my circumstances, then I must be prepared to accept that I'm not going to be in the headlines or on the front pages of magazines, or I'm not going to be cheered and lauded like I used to be, say, 20 years or 30 years ago. So I'm content with that, so long as my circumstances are taken care of, and I am happy with the work that I'm doing. I'm really indebted to the people of the country because they have stayed with me and still continue to see some of my films, not to the same level as they used to earlier on, but I'm just satisfied with that.
Yeah. Had you not been bankrupt, would you have reinvented yourself?
That's what I did, actually. I was under the impression, or I was told, that I don't need to work anymore. This was somewhere.
Which year was it?
This was in the 90s. And that I'm secure enough and fine enough, and you don't need to work anymore, so you can relax. So I just stopped working, and I went on a kind of a sabbatical for 3, 4 years, 5 years. Never did any work. And I feel that that was the biggest mistake that I made.
Did you miss the attention?
I didn't miss the attention. But
The adulation?
No adulation. No, I didn't miss that. I just feel that was something wrong, because by the time I came back and wanted to join up again, a lot of water had flown, and the next generation had already taken over. And you have to contend with that. And you walk out into a park with, say, a Shah Rukh or a Salman or an Amir, and you find that nobody's looking at you, but they're all looking at them. These are some things that
No, what was your moment of epiphany? You didn't answer my question.
Sorry?
There must have been a moment of epiphany when it opened up and said, you know, when
Yeah, just this.
any particular film or moment or episode?
When I came back, I started the corporation, and I had a dream about it and a vision. A vision that was laughed at in the beginning, but now you find at least 20 other following the same vision and doing very well. It's fine. We didn't know how to run it, and we accept our failure. We went bankrupt. I went bankrupt personally. My houses were up with the tax people and everything. And when you see that, then you want to protect it. You want to protect your family. You feel responsible for your children, for your wife, for your parents, because you're looking after them. And when you don't have the means to be able to look after them, you start blaming yourself, and then you want to repair it. And when you want to repair it, you sit back after endless nights of lying awake, wondering what is going to happen to you, and just wonder what we should do. And so one fine morning, I said, you know, what am I good at doing? I mean, supposedly good at doing. I said, I'm an actor, so I should start acting. So I walked across from here, just across the road, to Mr. Yash Chopra's house, and I said, I'm broke. I have no money. I want to act. Will you take me in your film? And he said, yes, we are working on a subject, and there is a role which we feel will suit you. And then Mohabbatein happened.
Yeah.
And I worked in Mohabbatein. But I was secondary, or the third, or the fourth important person in the film. Well, that's fine. At least I was, you know, starting to work all over again. The films that I do now, I will not get the most important role. I will not. People will not go to the box office just to see me.
I think.
No, seriously.
No, I don't think you need to be unnaturally modest.
You know, you've been honest. I've been honest with you, and you've been honest in your questioning. You have to be honest in listening to my responses. This is a fact of life, and this is a fact of cinema. You have to believe it. They're not going there for my box office. And if you want factual proof, please go through the box office collections of the youngsters and my films, and you'll find a huge difference. The kind of opening, say, that a Shah Rukh or a Salman or an Amir's film will get is like 50 crores the first day. The first day of Piku was about 4 crores. So that shows, that tells you. The audience tells you, look, we don't want to see a lot of you. So that's fine. Yes, we are fortunate that it has reached a certain level which was unexpected with Piku, and we are very grateful to the audience, because I find that there's been a huge change in the minds of the audiences. They are the ones that are now becoming more perceptive, more receptive to different kinds of content. And if they're patronizing something like this, let me tell you that the other artists are also involved in that patronage. It's not just myself. There's Deepika, there's Irfan, there's Shujit Sarkar, there's the entire making, there's the writing of the film. It's all a combined effort. It's not just me. 30 years ago, if you'd asked me this question, or asked somebody, because at that time I was not talking to the media, they would have told me.
Why weren't you talking to the media?
There was this accusation that I had brought along the emergency. Another one of these accusations.
You're very touchy about these things.
Sorry?
Are you less touchy now?
No, it's...
Are you have sat there, Mr. Bachchan, now one second. No, 1 second. 1 second, sir, 1 second. I've heard you so far.
No,
I find multiple contradictions here. Here is Amitabh Bachchan here, who berates the media 3 times in the course of an interview. Right now you just did. But yet you're sitting...
I berated you. Where?
No, you didn't. You made several references. You said, I would like to be in your position.
Sure.
Answering those questions.
Yeah, because, it's...
Then you said the media blame me for the emergency, etc.
Yeah, that's
or something
right.
like that. You made several, I wouldn't say condescending. You are too polished to be condescending, Mr. Bachchan, but you made certain observations which expressed your irritation. Yet, can I wrap this up by asking you one question? You're sitting with me today, and you've shown a great degree of tolerance in taking my questions. Has your approach to the media changed, Mr. Bachchan?
Never. I have great respect for them. I admire them. I actually do. I'm not just being diplomatic. I really admire them, because I think it's a very, very difficult job. I admire you, the way you conduct your show, for example. It's not easy. A lot of people may say all kinds of things. Your attitude, whatever it is. But it requires guts to be able to speak in that tone, to be able to ask those questions, to be well informed of them. And I know that you keep getting information all along. And to keep that show going, it's tough. I've been a TV anchor too. I run KBC, and I know what it means. Mine is the more simpler job because I just ask questions that come to me on a screen and I just conduct the show. But to be able to conduct something like what you do, or any other anchor does, in the field of television, is a tough job, especially a journalist. Where do you get your information? I look at your program to get knowledge because I admire the panelists that come. They have the immediacy of being able to respond to an attack with not just a defense, but another attack. That requires great amount of knowledge. That requires a great amount of study. To have studied what did that person do there 50 years, 100 years ago. Give an example. Talk about yourself. For you to be able to catch that point and say, hey, but you know, there you said this and there you said this. These some things that you were, narrating to me right now. In 2011 you said this, Mr. Bachchan, but you're saying this now. These are qualities that I admire in journalism, and therefore I always admire.
Thank you for saying that.
No, it is.
And I'm not just wrapping up, returning the compliment to wrap this up. May I say this, Mr. Bachchan, you've been thoroughly frank with me today. I feel that what you said about...
I've always been frank.
Let me
just say this. I've always been frank.
Yeah.
It's just that no one asked me these questions before, or never asked me in the way that you have, perhaps. If you will ask me, yes, I'll be very open and tell you.
Though I disagree with some issues, such as, where we started talking about Salman and the others, I respect your point of view.
Yes.
And I think at the end of the day, Mr. Bachchan, more than anyone else, you know that you don't need the acknowledgement of the politicians. You have got so much acknowledgement from the audiences out there.
I would like to defeat that perception and say that this is completely wrong. This perception of my being associated with any kind of political thought or political leader is wrong. I'm an individual. I'm happy being an artist.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of being an Indian. I will work for the country. I'll give my life for the country. I will work for state, for center, in anything that has got to enhance the image of the country. I hate it when I'm referred to as an individual from a developing third world country. I hate that word. And there are many occasions when I've traveled abroad and been accused of that. I want our country to be the first world, and I want to do things that will make us that. And we all want to do that. But I have never ever wanted to do anything which is controversial, because I think that I've had my share of it without deliberately wanting to put my foot in.
I understand where you're coming from. But I feel, frankly, Mr. Bachchan, that you don't need to be so cagey about steering from controversy, because at one point...
I admire what you're saying.
I genuinely, I'm saying this...
No, I admire what you're saying.
With honesty.
And I appreciate that you say that and that you think like this. But unfortunately, I cannot think like that. Because I do feel vulnerable. I am insecure. I am vulnerable. And I will do my utmost to protect myself from that. If there are things that you have questioned me about and I have not been able to answer it, my only defense for that is that, yes, I'm afraid of the consequences that may happen as a result of that. And having faced many of these in my life, I do not want it to come not just to me, but to my family and to my grandchildren or to my progeny.
You are far too seasoned, far too senior to me in age, wisdom and experience, Mr. Bachchan, for me to say this to you. But can I say one thing to you at the end? You don't need to live by the ghosts of the past. You are well above them, Mr. Bachchan. They are way behind you. I thank you very much.
I'm glad you say that, Anna, but I'll have to conduct my life the way I
understand, Mr. I really appreciate this. I've enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you.
And I look forward to talking to you again. All the very best, and keep shining, Mr. Bachchan. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bachchan.
Thanks so much.